Hey, Laurel Ann Stark here, and today I wanted to talk to you about the 3 things that your web designer should never ever do, because it's gonna, seriously, it'll make you so crazy, and also it will make your website not show up in Google. It might not even ever get live, and it'll be super hard for people to use it, and it will completely ruin any odds of success online. And I know that's a really dramatic statement, but it's happened a couple times this week, so I thought that I would, it's just a sign I should talk about it. So the first thing is where your web designer's like, yeah, cool, great, man. So like, all I need you to do is just write your website text and get that over to me. So 9 times out of 10, actually 99 times out of 100, people are not writers, right? So they're really, really good at what they do in their business, but they're not prepared to sit down and with a blank page come up with all of this compelling marketing content to sell what it is that they do, because they've got better things to do. It's really intimidating to look at a white page, and also, like, they're not a writer. So usually what ends up happening is if your web designer asks you to write your own website text, you'll just like never do it. So your website will never go live. And so that is something that I've seen a lot, where people in this industry are like, yeah, write your own website text, and people just don't do it, right? So it's really good if you're looking to get a brand new website to ask and find out, hey, does this web designer do my text for me? Or do they provide a writer? Or do they provide any kind of support to help with that? So that's the first thing. The second one is with respect to what I call Speaking Geek. So basically, if you have a laptop and a giant Slurpee cup and an internet connection, you can be a web developer, theoretically, right? Take a couple classes, you can learn how to do HTML or do a website in Squarespace or whatever the case is. But usually what happens with these folks that are purely coders, that are really, really technical, is that when it comes to customer service or basically doing anything to make your life easier, they sometimes have a really hard time with that. Like, it's rare to find someone who's got coding ability and marketing ability or communication skills. So they speak geek. And so I just had an instance this week where my client is trying to like update her address on her website, and there's just like all these errors showing up. It's this fatal error. And so she writes to the web developer and is like, hey, how come this isn't working? And he's like 75 paragraphs of like explanation, right? And frankly, no one cares. Like, we just want it to work, right? And that's the thing that I find a lot of web developers are missing, or web design agencies are missing, is basically answering the question, like, what's in it for me? Like, why do I care? And basically people just want their websites to work. They don't really care how it works most of the time, right? As long as it shows up on Google, it loads fast, it looks good on mobile devices, and it generates clients, no one cares if it's like a bunch of like little blue people with 18 legs behind the scenes making it all work, right? So Speaking Geek is something that will drive you nuts, because it's very hard to speak with somebody who's basically speaking a different language than you, especially when you're like, hey, I just want this to like be easy to use. And they're like, no, I gotta tell you about the code, man. So when you're talking to any potential web developer in the future and you're looking at getting like a new site, whoever it is that you're working with, just really check in with yourself and see how it feels to communicate with them. If they're like constantly using lingo that's intimidating or don't explain themselves in a way that's easy to use, guarantee it's going to be like that through the whole life of the project. And it might mean that your site doesn't even get launched, So that's the second thing to watch out for. And then the third, I've had this call so many times this week, it's so weird, where someone calls and they're like, yeah, so we have this like entire website built. It's like basically like eBay or just like some huge online marketing like set of code, right? So they've got this like big website done, and they're like, we just need someone to do the front end. We just need someone to do the design. And here's what the problem is with that, is that like design isn't just like throwing lipstick on a pig, right? It's like a huge, huge part of the actual online presence. So where the buttons go and what the colors look like and all those types of things, it's not an afterthought. It's a huge part of the strategy that has to happen in the beginning. So that way you know how to build the site is around the usability of it and what you're asking them to do and how we're going to make it super easy for them to do those things. So otherwise what happens is you try to put a design over top and it just like doesn't work. It's disjointed. It's 2 separate components instead of it being one component that comes out of a strategy that answers the question, what do I want my users to do? What action do I want my customers to take when they're on this website? So these 3 things all really come back down to like having a strategy before you go in and get your site built. So typically you want to look at questions like, what action do I want my website visitors to take? Do I want this to rank on search engines? If so, the text that you're writing is really, really important as it relates to search engines. Like, it should have something to do with the topic or themes, and there's specific ways to write to make it easier to read, because people don't even read anymore, they just scan. So those types of things are factors. Also, am I making it easy to share on social media? What about email? What about video? And looking at all the different online marketing pieces, design and code and communication and text and all of it, and putting it together before you even start. So ideally you work with somebody who's got a pretty good grasp on all of those things. Otherwise, I've seen it hundreds of times where the website project just starts and stops. So you end up spending your money and you don't get anything for it. And it's just this huge waste of frustration. And even if it does go live, your site will probably not look good, not convert in terms of getting sales and prospects to your business, and it probably won't show up on Google either. So save yourself the headache, save yourself the time, get these points addressed before you go into the web design process. Otherwise, yeah, it'll be super frustrating and your success will be diminished. I hope you found this useful. For more online marketing tips, you can go to laurelannstark.com. And if you found this valuable, please share it amongst your network. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great weekend. Bye.